Lesson 8.4, Dividing Rational Expressions. Dividing rational expressions follows the same procedures as dividing fractions, just in the same way that multiplying rational expressions followed the procedure for multiplying fractions. There's a connection there. So in order to divide fractions, we have to multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second. There are two really good ways to remember this. The first one is keep change flip, and the second is copy dot flip. Now these both are saying the same thing, just in a different phrasing, so that, maybe one way is easier to remember than another. So how these work for our example, if I have 2/5 divided by 8/19, in order to perform this, I need to keep or copy the first, change the division to multiplication, so dot, and then I flip the second. Now I follow the rules for multiplication, and you have a choice. You can either multiply and then reduce, or you can reduce through cross-canceling and then multiply. And I like to reduce first because it eliminates the need to work with larger numbers, and it eliminates the needs to try to find those larger number common factors. So when I want to do this reducing, I look at the 2 and the 8 for cross-canceling. 2 and 8 both divide by 2, so I'll divide those. Then I look at 5 and 19. 5 and 19 don't have any common factors, so I can't reduce there. Once I've established my reducing, then I multiply. So 1 times 19 is 19. 5 times 4 is 20. In order to divide rational expressions, we combine the procedure of dividing fractions and multiplying rational expressions. So first we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to either use that keep change flip or copy dot flip to remember that. Then we need to still determine our excluded values. We'll need to factor first in order to do this. Then we simplify the rational expression by canceling or cross-canceling the parts that match. So for example, if I have 1 over 2x plus 9 divided by 8x over 16x plus 72, I first need to convert that to multiplication using copy dot flip or keep change flip. Okay, now I want to factor anything that can be factored. 1 and 2x plus 9, neither of those will factor. 16 and 72 will both divide by 8, leaving me, oh wait, sorry, hold on. I need to copy that first expression that didn't factor first. Okay, so 16 and 72 divide by 8, leaving me x plus 9. Sorry, 2x plus 9. And then 8x is just an 8x. Now I need to cancel those factors that match. So 2x plus 9 and 2x plus 9 will cancel. 8 and 8 will cancel. And that's everything that will cancel. So I'm left with a 1 and an x. But I still need to know my excluded values, and I hadn't figured those out yet. I go back to my factored forms, where I can look at my denominators, and I set each denominator equal to 0. Okay, I want to solve these. So in order to solve this, I would subtract 9 from both sides and then divide by 2, and that would give me that x is equal to negative 9/2. And 8x equals 0 gives me that x has to be 0. So these are my factors my excluded factors or values that x cannot equal, because they would give me zeros in the denominator. Looking at our next two examples, I have 8 plus 2a minus a squared minus 2a minus 8. So I'll write that down. Change my division to multiplication and flip my second expression. Now I need to factor. The first thing I want to do is, because this a squared is negative, I'm going to factor out a negative 1, which will give me a positive a squared, a negative 2a, and a negative 8. Now I did not factor my denominator because if you look, you can see that these match. So I can tell that those are going to cancel. So these will cancel, and nothing else is going to reduce or cancel. But I do still need to find my excluded values. So I've got negative 1 times a plus 6 over 4a. And I need to find out, what can a not equal? Well, I take my a squared minus 2a minus 8, and I set that equal to 0, but I need to be able to factor this in order to solve it. This will factor to a minus 4 times a plus 2. And if you need to review the videos for factoring, you can go onto Math Girl Geek on YouTube and look either under the Algebra 1A or Algebra 1B playlists, or you can just do a general search for factoring. There's a lot of videos on how to factor on my channel. But this will tell me that a is equal to 4, and this one will tell me that a is equal to negative 2. So these are the values that a cannot equal. My next example, I have x plus 10 over x plus 7 times 5x squared plus 5x over x plus 10. Now I need to factor. Neither of these factor, but out of the 5x squared plus 5x, I can factor out a 5 and an x. So if I take 5x away from 5x squared, that leaves me with a single x, and 5x divided by 5x is 1. Now my denominators, I have x plus 7 and x plus 10. Setting these equal to 0 gives me my excluded values. Okay, so there are my excluded values. X plus 10 and x plus 10 will cancel, and nothing else matches. So I'm left with 5x times x plus 1 over x plus 7. X cannot equal negative 7 or negative 10. All right, this one's got a little bit more work involved. First, I'll change it to multiplication, so I'll write down the first fraction. Multiply 6p squared minus 36p over 6p squared minus 54p, so I flipped. Next, I'm going to factor. 2p minus 6 will divide by 2, leaving me 2 times p minus 3. Now here my p squared is negative, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out that negative 1, which will just change all the signs. So when I factor this, I'll have negative 1, Factors that give me a positive 18 and a negative 9 are negative 3 and negative 6. Again, if you need to, go review factoring. 6p and 6p squared and 36p have a 6 and a p in common, leaving me with p minus 6. And 6p squared minus 54p have a 6 and a p in common, leaving me with p minus 9. P minus 3 will cancel with p minus 3. That should be a p. P minus 6 cancels p minus 6. 6p and 6p will cancel. And that's everything. So when I put it all back together, I get 2 over negative 1 times p minus 9. We don't leave negative 1s hanging out in the denominator though. So I can actually bring the negative up top and make that negative 2 over p minus 9. And I still need to know what can p not equal. So in my denominator, I have p minus 3, p minus 6, 6p, and p minus 9. This tells me that if I set these equal to 0, I would get p equals 3, p equals 6, p equals 0, and p equals 9. So these are my factors. Hopefully you've noticed the pattern. If I have a minus here, it's a plus. If I have a plus here, this is a minus. If it's just a number and a p, it's going to be a 0, because anything times 0 equals 0. And then if I have a coefficient on the p, or whatever letter, then I divide this number, the opposite rather, so the positive, by whatever this number is. All right, what I would like you to do now is to pause the video and try number 6 here on your own. And then when you're finished, you can unpause and come back and see how you've done. Okay, check your work. See how your factoring went. You can see what canceled. I was left with 3 times 4a over a plus 5, so I multiplied the 3 and the 4a together to get 12a. I took all of my factors in my denominators and solved them, so a cannot equal 4, negative 3, or negative 5. Here is my final answer. Okay, we have 2 more examples that are, again, progressively a little bit more complicated. Especially now that we have a coefficient on our squared term. Okay, so I want to do just a really quick review on how to factor these. Okay, I'm going to take 10m squared minus 27m plus 5, and I'm going to multiply 10 times 5, which is going to give me 50. And then I'm going to look for 2 factors that will add to give me negative 27 and multiply to give me positive 50. And I'm going to get negative 2 and negative 25. I'm going to replace my negative 27m with the negative 2m and the negative 25m. I'm going to factor a 2 and an m to give me 5m minus 1. And I'm going to factor a negative 5 to give me 5m minus 1. Again, if you need help with this, review it. And that will give me my factors for my numerator. which will be 2m minus 5 times 5m minus 1. Now my denominator is a binomial. I can take a 2 from both and 2 m's, because they have 2 m's in common, leaving me with 2m minus 5. From my other numerator, I can take an 18, leaving me with m minus 4. And then I need to factor this denominator. I'm going to multiply 10 times 8, giving me 80. And I need factors of 80 that will add up to a negative 42, which will be negative 2 and negative 40. So I will have 10m squared minus 2m minus 40m plus 8. I can factor 2m to give me 5m minus 1. And I can factor a negative 5 to give me a negative 8 to give me 5m minus 1, which will give me 2m minus 8 times 5m minus 1. 2m minus 5 cancel, 5m minus 1 cancel, and I just noticed that this can factor even further. I can pull a 2 out. Do you see here? So then my m minus 4's will cancel. 2 and 18 have a 2 in common. This was taken up by that. I am left with 9 over 2m squared. But I still need to know what m cannot equal. So I'm going to look here. I have a 0. Positive 5 divided by 2. Positive 4. And then positive 1 divided by 5. What I would like you to do now is I would like you to pause the video again and work out number 10 and see how you do. When you're finished, you can unpause the video and come back and try to check your work. Okay, check your work and see how you did. Factoring should have given you this. Your 5x plus 4 is canceled and your 5x plus 2 is canceled, leaving you with 7x times x plus 7 over x minus 1. And x cannot equal 1, negative 2/5, or negative 4/5.